Oh, don't mind me. I'm just playing one of my favorite games with a 73 on Metacritic, Animal Crossing City Folk for the Nintendo. Man, this is such a good game. I love it so much, and if I love it, then that must mean everyone must love it too. Right?
Ultimately, it doesn't take any risks. Six is essentially the same. Essentially a Wild World 2. Now, game offers very few new and innovative concepts compared to its predecessors.
It seems like my views might not be the same as the rest of the internet.
How could this happen? I thought my opinions were almighty and unchallenged.
You know what? No, I can't allow this. I need everyone to know the pure bliss that is Animal Crossing City Folk. But before we go into why this game is the best thing since sliced bread, we should discuss a little background on this game and the series as a whole.
Animal Crossing. This is the life. I'm sure the series needs no introduction, but Animal Crossing is Nintendo's series of life simulation games where you can participate in fun activities, such as paying off debt, doing chores for other people, single-handedly maintaining an entire island. This is fun. That's the best part of Animal Crossing. It sounds like the anti-fun of video games, but the people over at Nintendo created one of the most relaxing and cozy sims of all time. I swear, man, it's like this game was programmed to be what it feels like to drink hot chocolate. This little series got its humble beginnings on the Nintendo 64 and then later ported to the GameCube, the GameCube version being the one that got published globally with changes added to fit certain regions better, and then that version was updated and re-released back in Japan with even more features that all the other global versions didn't have.
What?
Yeah, the first Animal Crossing game is interesting to say the least, especially when it comes to all the different versions and such. But hey, who cares about all that? How's the actual game? Well, suffice it to say, someone liked this thing. And although those sales might not seem that high, it probably sold more than Chicken Little, so I think that speaks for something. Also, if we look at GameCube's total sales and do some math, theoretically, 1 out of every 10 GameCube owners owned Animal Crossing. And it's for a reason. This game is so good! It's definitely aged in terms of controls and some little stuff that gets edited in the modern entries, but this game has its own charm that none of the other games can seem to replicate. Wild World is basically the start of the modern style that future games will build off of.
Oh yeah, that game exists.
I guess Nintendo saw the sales records and said, oh we sold more than Chicken Little, and they ordered a new Animal Crossing game, this time for their shiny new handheld, the Nintendo DS. Animal Crossing Wild will be released on November 23rd, 2005 to a ho-hum. Holy sh**, you can touch Tom Nook now?
Whew! Finally!
This game added a lot to the Animal Crossing series. New tools, bugs, fish, and a god-awful frame rate.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest problems with Wild World. It brought so much to the series and basically birthed the modern Animal Crossing style we know today. It's really neat, and while it's pixely, I've always had a soft spot for how DS games look, but God, this frame rate hurts my eyes.
However, that didn't mean much to everyone back in 2005, as this game would go over to sell 11 million copies, almost as much as Sonic Forces. It's okay though, we can't all be perfect.
And that finally brings us to the topic of today's video. Virginity.
Skip forward a couple years and Nintendo was seeing huge success with their console, the Wii. With the Wii bringing in casual gamers, introducing Animal Crossing to this whole new audience was a match made in money-making heaven. So before we knew it, on November 16th, 2008, we got Animal Crossing City Folk here in North America, with Japan and Europe receiving it a few days later.
Fun fact, this game actually came out on my birthday in Japan, and let me tell you, that fact is something that I will take with me to the grave. Now, while it's no secret that I clearly love this game, it seems that a larger part of the Animal Crossing community doesn't think that highly of this game. So I think it's important if we do a comprehensive review and see what people in their stupid eyes see. I kid. But anyways, this is Animal Crossing City Folk.
Ah, that theme song. If we're going to start with the positives right away, I love this game's soundtrack. The acoustics really help to add to this cozy nature that's the series' pride and joy. We start off our journey on a bus, instantly interrogated by a cat named Rover. Luckily, he means well enough, and this is where we get to put in our information. I went with my actual name, Mike, and for my destination, I'm heading to the wonderful town of Head-Ass Flat. Well, after answering some debatably personal questions for someone we just met, we arrive at Head-Ass Flat. And it's at this point we start mingling with the locals. We got Lucy, Teddy, Rosie, Willow, Wolfgang, and Punchy. An absolute all-star cast, if you ask me. After chatting them up, we head to the town square to purchase our new home. It may just be a mere shack at first, but soon we will transform it into a towering mansion from which we may look down on those beneath us with shame and disgust. Or, ask them if they want to come over or something. I decided to go with the blue house, and after giving it a good inspection, it's definitely blue. And now we're going to be greeted by the source of all of our future stress, Tom Nook, a cute little raccoon with an eye for business who gives us our new home for the low price of our free will. Yeah, you see, we can't just get a house for free, and we need to pay back our debt somehow. So, we are now humbly/forcefully working under Mr. Nook and his store Nook's Cranny. For the next half hour or so, we do some tasks to familiarize ourselves with our new town, such as finding spots to plant flowers, delivering things to the locals, and getting to know places like the town hall. This is where we can send some letters and change things like our town tune and flag. After all that, we are finally set free with a slightly reduced debt.
At this point, the world of city folk really opens up to you. You can pretty much do anything. Now, at this point, I'm going to stop talking about everything I did each individual day. I have weeks worth of footage here, so to go over everything would be a bit much, but I'll share with you some of the first things I did each day in the game.
First, I had to earn some money so I could purchase the basic set of tools, the fishing rod, the net, and the shovel. Each of them is going to help you earn maximum bellage, so you'll be using them a lot to say the least. Fish and bugs in this game are probably going to be your biggest source of money. Your native fruit is only worth 100 bells, and since the online service for this game is dead, the only way to get other fruits is to mail some to a villager and hope they give you a different one in return. But that's if they reply at all. You can also sell seashells, but those aren't worth a whole lot either. All this is fine, but if becoming a millionaire isn't your main goal, you can always donate your fish and bugs to the museum run by the intelligent little owl Blathers, and he'll take one of every bug and fish in the game. Why would you do that? Well, while you don't necessarily gain anything... Hey guys, this is Future Mike coming in just to let you know that, actually I was completely incorrect about this. You do get, valuable stuff for adding stuff to the museum, because once you add a certain amount of stuff to the museum, certain shops get unlocked that you can use to collect the silver series of tools, which is definitely an upgrade. So yeah, if you're playing this game seriously and you really want to get the best stuff, definitely donate to the museum if you can. Alright, let's go back to Future Mike. Really though, the more bugs and fish you add, the prettier your exhibits become, giving your town this sense of growth. That being said, for this particular playthrough, I didn't really donate too much. I tried to every now and again, but I felt like I wanted to progress through the game as quickly as I could without rushing. Before you get mad at me, you gotta remember, I'm the guy who didn't know Mario Kart 7 was the 7th Mario Kart, so clearly my mind is on a complete other level.
But how?
See, what's so cool about the museum is that it's completely optional. You can either donate and miss out on an opportunity to make money every now and again, or you can sell all your findings, but have your town be much less interesting as a result of you being a complete and utter greedy piece of shit. Speaking of the museum, the shovel is yet another tool that'll come in handy when filling it up with cool exhibits. You can dig up all kinds of things, but the stuff you want to donate are the fossils. You can get them assessed by Blathers, and he'll help you identify what dino it is, and you can either have it donated or sell them for profit because you just love wasting this cute owl's little time. You may also encounter gyroids, which you can decorate your house with. These charming little guys dance to the music you play and are overall just adorable. Well, at least some of them. Then there's pitfall seeds, which you really can't do anything with, but digging them up does save you from an upcoming traumatic experience. Also, there's the daily money rock. If you keep up the striking in time, you can earn thousands of bells a day. After some fishing and digging, I decided to take a little break from my quiet life and head to the hustle and bustle of the city. Finally, this title is starting to make sense.
Yeah, this game contains a city with a question mark in the end. Up until this point, I've been discussing City Folk as a game in its own right, which will be important to my defense. But I think we should start talking about why other people don't really like this game as much as others in the series. So let's start with the first complaint. The city stinks!
I think someone spilt pudding over the definition of city in Nintendo's headquarters, because this isn't a city, it's a town square. However, before we go into full rant mode, let's discuss all the things you can do in this city. Our first stop is Shampoodle, the hair salon. This is where you go when you want to change up your hairstyle, obviously, by either answering a series of questions and hoping for the best, or looking up a guide if you're just no fun. I just kinda blinked and now I have pink hair, so that's cool. Next up, there's a skunk by the name of Kix, who will shine our shoes and based on our color and or our style. That's pretty much all there is to that. Now we shoot off to the left and head into the Happy Room Academy, now known as the Happy Home Academy in future titles. We can register with them and they'll judge our personal taste in home decorating. Best membership I've ever signed up for. They also have a demo room, which we can use as a reference on how our things should be set up. Then there's the auction house, where you can put items up for bidding. This is mainly a way to sell things to visitors that came over via Nintendo Wi-Fi, but as that service is chilling with the Wii U at the moment, there really is no use nowadays. Heading north, we'll enter Gracie Grace, the high-end store of the city, run most days by a third able sister, Label, or as she likes to call herself in this game, LaBelle. Oh yeah, so I guess I forgot to talk about the Able sisters earlier. Basically, it's just the clothes store back in your town run by two sisters, Sable and Mabel. There's new clothes every day, you get the gist. Anyway, this place carries the most expensive furniture series in the game, the Gracie line. Most pieces costing 100,000 plus bells per item. We should get out of here for now. This is the kind of store you go to when you really made it in this game. In the bottom right, we have the fortune teller Katrina. She can read your fortune or give you good luck. It only costs 100 bells, so it can't hurt to do it every now and again. Middle left, we have the marquee, where you can watch a show by the legendary Dr. Shrunk. This is also how we learn all of the emotes or reactions in this game. And finally, we have Crazy Red. You can't access it right away, though. You have to be invited by one of your villagers, and even then, the entrance fee is 3,000 bells. What do we get for that? The chance to buy high-quality, famous works of art. Hopefully. Yeah, Red is a shifty fox, to say at least. Sometimes he can sell you fake art, which the museum won't accept. Plus, there's no refund, so look up a guide to make sure you don't waste those hard-earned bells. The only stuff left in the city is the villagers wandering about that you can talk to and potentially convince to move in. And Phineas, who gives out free prizes, such as balloons, bubble wands, little things like that.
Now, while that might sound like a lot to do, honestly, you can experience everything I talked about in under 30 minutes. The whole selling point and key new feature of your game can be fully digested in under an hour, and I can totally understand how that is annoying to some people.
Well, that's enough of the city life for me. Let's head back to town. After some more grinding for bells, I finally achieved the true meaning of happiness and paid off my debt to Tom Nook. And then he told me I could make my house bigger, and I agreed to take out another loan.
Damn, he's good.
Yeah, as you'll learn, that's the kind of way of life for Animal Crossing players, especially in these older games where you can't do much to your town other than chopping down trees and rearranging flowers. According to the guide, you can donate about 200,000 bells to get a new bridge built, but you don't choose where it gets to go, so does that really count? If you're a true City Folk player, you're only doing that so you can get one step closer to getting a fountain built to get the golden axe. Oh yeah, the strategy guide. I used to read this all the time back in the day as a kid. I mainly remember the calendar you could use to know what kinds of fish and bugs were available each month and what holidays were going on. But there's so much more, like an entire collection of all the furniture organized by each series. It shows you the gifts that you could get from special characters and all the villagers in the game. Of course, the internet can give you all this info, even at the time, but this is something that I definitely don't regret owning.
Well, after playing this game for a little bit, it seems like City Folk is just a classic Animal Crossing experience with a few twists here and there. Overall, though, it doesn't seem that much different from the other two games, so what exactly is the problem here? Well, in my opinion, I believe a lot of City Folk's criticisms come around the time in which it came out.
Let's go back to 2008. Wild World would have been out for 3 years. People hear that Animal Crossing is finally coming back to consoles on the Wii. Who knows what new things they could do? Well, not much. And that brings us to the biggest criticism of City Folk, is that it just wasn't different from Wild World. The game looks pretty much the same, in just a resolution that you can actually see. In fact, you could even import your town from Wild World, that's how similar it is. So to the players back in 2008, there wasn't much you can do in this game, and most thought, I'll just stick to the game I can play anywhere, rather than the game that I could swing the Wii remote to cast my fishing line. Not to mention that a lot of people were really disappointed how lackluster the city was for it being such a core part of the marketing.
Now these are totally fair criticisms, however in my opinion, I just believe City Folk ages better than Wild World. The game just didn't run well. It came out in that time when Nintendo needed to prove that the DS could do powerful stuff. And just like Mario 64, it just doesn't age as well. If you're looking for the classic Animal Crossing experience, I think City Folk fully provides that, and it doesn't run like piss.
Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Wild World. I know this is an absolutely great game, and I know if I was playing this on my DS back in 2005, I would have loved it and loved the series just as much. However, in my view, this is the Animal Crossing game that aged the worst, simply due to the limitations of the DS hardware. Now, you can argue that most Animal Crossing games become outdated as soon as the new one comes out. However, at the time, that doesn't seem to be the case. Like how people who were super into Melee had a hard time adjusting to Brawl. With it being a much slower game, appealing to casuals, while not a bad game in its own right, it alienated a lot of fans and split the Smash community.
Now there's nothing wrong with that, of course. What's most important is liking what you like. And I feel like if you look back at City Folk today as its own game, it really is some high quality stuff.
Yeah, the whole city element isn't great, but it's not an inconvenience to the gameplay. It doesn't take any longer than visiting the island in New Leaf, for example. And yeah, it's not that much different from Wild World. However, I argue that City Folk is the best way to experience all that Wild World brought to the series.
And that, my friends, is my defense for Animal Crossing City Folk. While not the best game in the Animal Crossing series, I believe when looked at on its own terms, it is an absolutely amazing time. For those wanting to experience the old Animal Crossing style before the days of ratings and customizing your island from head to toe, I think City Folk can provide that perfectly for you. Thank you guys for sticking through to the end. I hope this video might have helped you change your opinion on City Folk, or might even interested you in picking up an Animal Crossing game for the first time. I'm always trying to improve, so if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, make sure to have a great day.